Hello there, McKnox here, and welcome back to my channel. If you clicked on this video, then you're here for this adorable little capybara. I am a crochet artist, and in today's video, I'm going to show you step by step how to make this. If you're new to this channel, please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share, and let's get started. For this project today, I'm going to be using a 3.5mm hook because I'm using a 4-weight yarn. When making amigurumi, I always use a hook at least a 0.5mm smaller than my yarn weight for tire stitches. Although in this project, I probably should have gone a little bit smaller, and you'll see what I mean. But it really depends on the type of yarn that you're using. Then you're going to need your usuals, your scissors, tapestry needle, stuffing, and a set of eyes and the eye backs to go with them. For the yarn, I'm using this light brown for the body, this dark brown for the ears and paws, a strand of black for the nose and mouth, and I'll be putting a fruit on top of his head, so I'm going to use this pink, and then I'm just going to use a little bit of green to make the leaf. And when it comes to doing the color on the capybara's nose, you can crochet it, and I'll show you how to do that. Or you can do what I did and take a dark brown eyeshadow and stain the yarn. And that's it. So let's get started. And we're going to start by making the head. Now, if you're not using the eyeshadow for the snout, you can start with dark brown and I'll tell you when to switch. Either way, attach that yarn to your hook and chain 5, leaving a long starting tail. Tighten that knot at the base. Now, skip that first chain and put a single crochet into the next 3. When you get to your last chain, put 3 single crochet into that chain. That is a triple single crochet increase. Now, pivoting to the other side, I have 4 chains on the side, but the first one can be really easy to miss. So put a single crochet into the next 3 chains. And then in this last one, put an increase. Now if you're like me and you find it difficult to go through both sides of your chain, leaving these gaps, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to fix that. And with round 1 done, we're going to put a single crochet into the next stitch. Remove your hook and place your stitch marker. There is another way of continuing without having to make that extra single crochet, but for simplicity's sake, this is how I'm going to show you. It won't make a difference. And now for this next round, we start with a single crochet into the next 2 stitches. In the third one, make an increase, followed by a single crochet, and then another increase. Then make another 2 single crochet, another increase, followed by a single crochet, and finish with an increase. The reason we made that extra single crochet last round was to make it easier to track our increases. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to close up these gaps. I'm going to remove my marker and my hook, take this inner tail and thread it onto my needle, flip my work and look in the back for a loop right beside that gap. Push my needle through that loop and cross over into this one. Don't pull too tightly. Come to the next spot, find the next loop, cross over, and gently tug through. I'm a person that struggles going through both sides of my chain when I crochet, as I'm sure other people do. And even when you go through all the loops, you can still get these gaps. So, this is my solution to that. Once you get to the end, before pulling the yarn all the way through, push your needle through that loop you made and pull it closed. And cut your tail short. Alright, let's continue. For this next round, start by making 3 single crochet. Then increase in the next stitch. Then 2 single crochet. And another increase. In the next 3 stitches, make a single crochet, followed by an increase, then 2 single crochet. Now if you started with your dark brown, this is where you'll change colors. If you're not changing colors, then just put increase into the next stitch. To change colors, we're going to start by putting a single crochet into that last stitch, go back in, grab your yarn and pull up, but stop here. Don't finish the single crochet. Instead, grab your second color. I'm just going to use the dark brown as an example. Attach it to your hook and pull it through those loops. And you'll chain 1. And that's how you do your color swap. For the next 5 rounds, just put a single crochet into every one of those stitches. Make sure to move your stitch marker at the end of each round. This is very important because once those rounds are done, we'll be making increases in very specific spots to make the curvature of the head. For now, just do 5 rounds of single crochet. If you did the color swap last round, count your stitches as you go, and when you get back to the beginning of your round, skip that chain 1 and slip stitch. Okay, I just finished my 5 rounds of single crochet. This part here is going to be where our nose and mouth is, and this spot here is where we're going to enlarge our head. So I'm going to start off by making 4 single crochet. Then an increase, followed by a single crochet, then another increase, another single crochet, increase again, single crochet, and one last increase. Then single crochet back to your marker. If you followed my instructions correctly, you'll now have a bit of a curve at the top of your head. For the next 4 rounds, I'm just going to make a single crochet into every stitch. However, I'm grabbing a second stitch marker and using that. Leave this first one exactly where it is. This will help us to figure out where to place our eyes later on. For now, just do your 4 rounds, and at the end of each round, place your stitch marker. Alright, I've reached the end of my 4th round. I left that first stitch marker where it was. Start this round with 4 single crochet. And now I'm going to do a decrease. However, when it comes to making amigurumi, I recommend using invisible decreases because they are practically invisible. If you don't know how to make one, I'm going to show you. To make an invisible decrease, start by pushing your hook into the front loop of that first stitch, pivot your hook, push into the front loop of the second stitch. Now grab your yarn and pull it through those loops, and then make a single crochet. If you find the invisible decrease too difficult, you can just do a regular decrease. The next stitch is a single crochet. After that, we're doing another invisible decrease. Go into that first front loop, go into the second front loop, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, make a single crochet. Then another single crochet, followed by another decrease, single crochet, and decrease one more time. Now, just single crochet back to the start of the round. Fasten off and leave a tail for sewing. Now we're going to insert the eyes, and this can be a bit tricky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my head in half right along that crease where we started our chain. Make sure that this right here is the top of your head. Now find that row with a stitch marker and move over 1 row towards the snout. Where the crease is at the top, you can see the 2 stitches that kind of make the fold of the head here. Starting on this side, I'm going to count down 6 stitches and place my eye. Grabbing my second eye, count over from the first one 11 stitches, and then place my eye into that 11th stitch. Play around with the eye placement a little bit. Your eyes may be larger or smaller than mine. Once I'm pretty satisfied with the placement, I'm going to snap the backs on. And now we're going to move on to the body. To start, make a magic circle of 6 single crochet. If you have trouble making a magic circle, you can make a magic circle using the chain method instead. For the next round, we're going to put 2 single crochet into each stitch. And when you get to the end of the round, you'll have 12 stitches. This round, we're increasing from 12 to 18. Start with a single crochet into that first stitch, then increase into the next, and then just repeat those 2 steps to the end of your round. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, and you will have 18 stitches at the end of your round. This time, we're increasing from 18 to 24. Start by putting a single crochet into the first 2 stitches, then increase into the third, and just repeat those steps until the end of the round. You should have 24 stitches. We're increasing from 24 to 28. You're going to make a single crochet into the first 5 stitches. Then into the 6th, make an increase. Put a single crochet into the next 5, and then increase into the one after. And repeat those steps 2 more times, and you should have 28 stitches. Okay, I'm going to pause here and remove my stitch marker and my hook. Take that inner tail and attach it to my needle. If you do the chain method when you make a magic circle, you'll probably notice that the center of your circle can start to gape open, especially as you stuff your project. I'm going to show you how to fix that. Attach that needle to the yarn, come into the back here, and look for a back loop close to the circle's middle. And like we did with the chain when we started the head, cross over into another back loop and gently pull that yarn through. Do this 2 or 3 times. On the last one, push your needle into that hoop and pull down and tighten. And cut your yarn. And there you go. That should stop your magic circle from gaping open. Alright, let's continue. I've replaced my hook and my stitch marker. I have 28 stitches. For the next 4 rounds, I'm just putting a single crochet into each one of those stitches. And at the end of each round, I'm moving my stitch marker. Alright, I just got done with my 4th round. This next round, we're decreasing from 28 to 26. Start with an invisible decrease, then make 12 single crochet. Decrease again, and make another 12 single crochet. For the next 3 rounds, just put a single crochet into every stitch. You should have 26 stitches around. Move your stitch marker at the end of each round. For this next round, we're decreasing from 26 to 24. Start off with a decrease, then make 11 single crochet. Another decrease, and then another 11 single crochet, and you'll have 24 stitches. For the next 2 rounds, we're just putting a single crochet into every stitch. Move your stitch marker at the end of each round. You should have 24 stitches. Now we're decreasing from 24 to 22. Start with a decrease, then make 10 single crochet. Decrease again, and then another 10 single crochet. Decreasing from 22 to 20. This time we're starting by making 9 single crochet, and then make a decrease. Another 9 single crochet, and end the round with a decrease. For our last round, we're decreasing from 20 to 18. So start with a decrease, then make 8 single crochet. Decrease once more, and then 8 single crochet. Fasten off, leaving a long tail for sewing. Now we're going to take some time to start stuffing our project. When stuffing the body, make sure to get down deep into the bottom and into the sides. You can use a stuffing stick if that helps. You want to stuff your capybara pretty firmly, but not too much so. When making this project, I may have wanted to go for a smaller hook. Although the yarn packaging said that it was weight forward, this yarn does seem a little bit thin. so my stitches end up stretching regardless, just something to keep in mind for future reference. You can also roll your body to help distribute the stuffing more evenly. Stuff the head also, making sure to get into the snout. Don't worry, we will also be stuffing our project as we sew the pieces together. Taking my tapestry needle, I'm threading that yarn tail from my head onto it. I'm going to push my needle through the next stitch and into my head. Then I'm going to come back and pull my yarn tail out a couple of stitches over and just leave it there. After we sew the body on, we will be using it to knot the two tails together and hiding them. I'm going to thread that yarn tail from my body onto my needle. I'm going to line up the head and body, and I'm just going to start sewing them together. As I'm sewing through the edge of both pieces, I'm making sure that I'm going through all of the loops of those stitches. The head and body should both have 18 stitches, but if you accidentally go through a stitch more than once, that's fine. Just try not to skip any stitches. As you go, you can stuff the head and body a little bit more, especially as you get towards the end. So once I've attached my pieces, I'm going to bring that yarn tail out where the first one is, knot the ends together, and hide them deep inside my project. I also took a minute here to pick out the stray bits of stuffing from where I sewed the pieces together. Alright, so moving on to the eyelids now. When you attach the yarn to your hook, make sure to leave a tail. Now, chain 4. Skip that first chain and make a slip stitch into the second. In the one after, make a single crochet. And in the last one, make a slip stitch. Then fasten off. Taking one of the tails, I'm going to thread it onto my needle. And picking up my capybara, I'm going to partly lay it over the eye. I want the two corners of my eyelid to be sewn into these stitches on either side of the eye. So I'm going to stick that needle into the stitch right here. And just come out somewhere in the head. Still pinning that eyelid where I want it, I'm going to push my needle back through the head and come over to the other corner. Push my needle up and through the tip of that eyelid, and then back down and into the head. Attaching the other yarn tail to my needle, I'm going to push it down into that same stitch of the corner of the eye right here. Come up the one next to it like this, and then come up through the chain of that eyelid, round over, and then back down into the head. Then move on to the next stitch and continue sewing the eyelid on. You're going to have to use your judgment a little bit here. If a part of the eyelid is maybe standing up a bit, you can sew through the spot a couple of times. When you're done, make a second eyelid and sew it on over the other eye. Then knot your yarn tails together and hide them. Alright, moving on to the ears. I'm going to take that dark brown, attach it to my hook, and make a magic circle of 5 single crochet. Once you've done that, don't join your circle. Instead, fasten off and leave a tail for sewing. Make 2 of these, and then we'll sew them on. Taking my ear, I'm going to figure out where I want to place it. And I'm going to place it 1 row above where I sewed on my eyelid. And the edge of my ear is going to line up about the middle of the eye. So I'm going to push my needle into that stitch and out the next one over. Come back through the stitch on that ear and then back down into the head. Come out the stitch beside the first one, again through this stitch on the ear and down into the head. Threading that second tail on, I'm going down into this stitch, out the next one, through the ear, but when I come back down, I'm going to push my needle into the corner of my stitch right here, and then down into my head. This will help to pin it better. Then knot and hide my yarn tails, and do this for the ear on the other side. Now that I've sewn the ears on, I'm going to move on to making the legs. I'm going to start with my dark brown and make a magic circle of 6 single crochet. I won't be using a stitch marker because the legs are so small, but keep in mind if you don't use one, you're going to have to count your stitches as you work. Alright, so now I'm going to increase from 6 to 8 stitches, put a single crochet into the first 2 stitches, and increase into the third, then 2 single crochet, and an increase into the last. I won't be tightening up the magic circle in the back like I did with the body. I'm just going to cut that yarn tail and tuck it in. Alright, so now we're going to do 1 single crochet all around, so 8 single crochet. But in the last stitch, I'm going to make a color swap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that stitch, I'm going to grab that yarn and pull up, but then I'm going to stop. I'm going to grab my body color, attach it to my hook, and pull it through those loops to finish my single crochet. This stitch is going to be a little bit loose at first, but don't worry. For now, just chain 1. Make sure that you're skipping this stitch right here where we're coming out of. We're making a single crochet into every stitch until the end. You should have 8 stitches, and I'll show you how to join at the end of the round. Okay, so I have 8 single crochet of the body color. This right here is the chain 1 that we made at the start of the round. You're going to skip over that chain 1 and slip stitch into that first single crochet. And if you're using a stitch marker, this is where you'll place it. Now, removing my hook, and I'm going to take these 2 yarn tails, I'm going to tug them tightly, and then double knot them together. Cut them short and tuck them inside your leg. Okay, so that last round was the first round that we did of single crochet of our body color. You're going to make 3 more rounds of single crochet. You should have 8 stitches around, so that's a total of 24 stitches. You can either use a stitch marker or just count as you go like I am. And when you're done, fasten off and leave a tail for sewing. Make 4 legs and then we're going to attach them. When it comes to stuffing the legs, you may want to use something like this. This is a dowel that I have. A stuffing stick, a chopstick, or a pencil works. You don't want to overstuff your legs because we'll be sewing the edge flat. So leave a little room. And once you're done, attach that yarn tail to your needle. So I'm going to flatten my leg on this corner here where I fastened off. And I'm just going to start sewing back and forth through both sides of those stitches. You should be going through 4 sets of stitches. Alright, so once I've done that, I'm going to start sewing it on. And to line up my leg where I like it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my eye. I'm going to count down 1 row. And then I'm going to follow this line of stitches to the point where my neck and my head are sewn together. From here, I'm going to count over 3 stitches, and in the third one, I'm going to push my needle in. Now, I'm going to come out 3 more stitches over from this point. I want the cappy's legs to be a bit angled, so I'm going to come out right here. Then I'm going to pull the leg down to the body. I'm going to line up the other corner of this leg with my needle, push my needle into the corner stitch of that leg, and then back down into my body. And then I'm going to do that for the next 2 stitches of my leg, including this corner right here where it first came in. And once that's done, I'm going to bring my yarn tail out over here, and now I'm going to sew the back leg on. I've got my second leg. I've stuffed it and sewn through both sides, just like I did the first one. I'm going to count over 2 stitches from that first leg, making sure to line up with that first leg. Then I'm going to push my needle into that second stitch, and again, just like with the first leg, I'm going to angle it as I come out 3 stitches over. And then I'm just going to sew the second leg on like I did the first one. Check your back leg's placement before you sew it on, and adjust as you need to. attach that leg firmly to the body. And when you're done, bring the yarn tail out with the first one, knot the ends together, and hide them. Then sew the legs on the other side using the same steps I just showed you here. So I've finished sewing his legs on, and now I'm going to make that fruit and attach it to his head. You don't have to add this, of course, you can skip forward if you want. I'm going to start by making the leaf. Grabbing my green, I'm going to chain 4. Tighten that knot at the end. Skip over that first chain and do a slip stitch into the second. In the next chain, make a half double crochet. In the last one, make a slip stitch, and then fasten off. I'm grabbing my pink yarn, and I'm going to start by making a magic circle of 4 single crochet. Since my project is so small, I'm not going to use a stitch marker. And for this round, I'm increasing from 4 to 6 stitches. Start by putting 2 single crochet into that first stitch, then put a single crochet into the next stitch, followed by an increase, and then a single crochet into the last stitch. For the next 2 rounds, put a single crochet into each stitch. Once you're done, fasten off. And we don't need our hook anymore. So now, taking my leaf, I'm going to thread 1 tail onto that needle. I'm going to push that needle into the stitch beside where I fastened off. I'm going to push it down into the center of my fruit and pull my leaf down. And then I'm going to take that second tail and push it down into the center alongside the first one. Take the 3 tails coming out of your fruit, knot them all together very tightly, cut them short, and then stuff them inside. I'm not going to stuff my fruit because it's very small. So instead, I'm going to take this yarn tail and attach it to my needle, and I'm going to sew the fruit closed. So I'm going to skip this first stitch and push my needle into the front loop of the next one. Skip another stitch, push the needle through the front loop of the one after. And now I'm just going to sew back and forth through these loops until it's closed. This doesn't have to be perfect. We'll be sewing the underneath to the capybara's head. Pick up my cappy. I'm going to figure out where I'd like to place them. I'm going to push my needle down into the head, come out and up and through that fruit. I'm going to start sewing it onto the head, going through just the bottom stitches of that fruit. And then when I'm done, I'm just going to bring the tail out a different spot. And now we're going to move on to the nose and the mouth. So you can use a Q-tip for this, but I think using a piece of paper towel is better. I'm going to dab into my eyeshadow, getting rid of the excess, and then I'm going to gently dab it onto the snout of my cappy. I prefer using a paper towel because it's better to dab this than to rub it on. Rubbing the eyeshadow onto your yarn can fray it, so be very careful of that. Okay, so let's finish them up. I'm going to take a strand of black yarn, attach it to my needle. So I already tried to make the nose and mouth once, and I already hid that fruit tail, but I didn't like how the face looked. Alright, finding the center ridge of my snout, I'm going to insert my needle, and I'm going to come out where the end of his mouth will be. Coming up, I'm going to figure out where I want the point of his nose to be, and I'm going to push my needle into that spot. Now, I'm actually going to push my needle in between stitches. This can be really difficult because we're not going through a stitch space. We're going through the actual stitch. And also keep in mind that we sewed the inside. Once I've pushed through, I'm going to come out another spot. I'm going to take a moment to just gently push that snout back into form. Once I've done that, I'm going to figure out where one corner of my nose is going to be, and then maneuver my needle out through that stitch, and then come back down and through to where the point of my nose is. And then just do the same for the other side. When I'm done, I'm going to hide my yarn tails, You can also now use one of the black tails to knot and hide that one from sewing on our fruit. And there he is! That's my capybara! Like I said, if I had realized that this yarn is a bit different from what I typically use, I would have used a smaller hook. But I still think he came out really adorable. So that's it. That's the video. If you made it to the end, then please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. And this has been McDocs. I'll see you soon.